Yeah, previous class we have discussed about the Mapreduce and other concepts. We have discussed Hive, Pig, we have discussed. But in Mapreduce, if we want to read the files, different kind of the files, so how can read it? So that we didn't covered in the previous classes. So today we'll continue with that. So whatever we have discussed in Mapreduce previously is, so just if you input, mostly we have used as a input text file we have used. So that means default text input format, text input format only we have used. So apart from that, instead of the only the text format, so whatever the other file formats we can able to handle, or if we want to read the data from the other input format, so how we can read it, so that we will see. So first we'll continue with the sequence input format, then we'll go through the more input custom input formats will go, and we'll see how we can able to read the data from the Excel, XML, so that we'll discuss. So coming to the first sequence format, apart from the text input format, in Mapreduce is supporting one more Mapreduce by default, or it having inbuilt, it is having support for the few input formats like text input format, key value input format, and sequence input format. And apart from that, we have a few more input formats like multi-line input formats. So we have the few input formats. It is giving the built-in or already defined the some input formats. They are providing the support for the input formats. So coming to the sequence input format, so sequence is kind of a binary key value format. So whatever the data we have given, it will store as a binary key value pairs, it will store it. So we will use for the binary key value, and mostly if you have the small files and file name, we can pass it as a file name, we can pass it as a key, and value we can pass it as a content of the file. So similarly, if you want like images, your small files, so if you want to pass it as a input, so that we can pass it. So if you want to create the sequence file data, or if you want to read the sequence file, so already in Mapreduce we have the input format. Simply we need to configure it in driver class, and we can able to access it. So for that, if we want to, first we'll see how we can write sequence data. Suppose if I have some input data, and if I want to write the sequence file, so then I can use this line is enough. You can write the driver class, you can create job and set mapper class, and this is only thing sequence file output format. If you specify this one, so the whatever output it is there, so it will be come as a sequence file output format, it will become. So the output it will give instead of the text data, so the output of this Mapreduce program, it will give the output as a sequence file. So in this Mappa, just we need to emit whatever the key value, so that is enough. We can just emit the key value. So now if you want to execute it, simply you can right click and export it, create jar file. So export and check jar file. And so whatever you want to give, so this sequence writer, and you can create the jar file and you can able to execute it. So only thing is select the path wherever you want to store that jar file. Generally we are giving HD workspace and the sequence format, and you can give jar name like now we'll use the sequence writer and you can save it. So once you created the jar files, you can go to the terminal. So you can go to the wherever we have the sequence writer. So go to the that path. Yeah, I have created one new directory. So under this, we will load the all the input data for the Mapreduce, and all the output of the Mapreduce we will store into this folder. Okay, coming to the Mapreduce program, so we can write the Hadoop jar command and we can able to execute it. So this is the query I'm using. So here, okay. So this is the query I'm using sequence writer. So this it will be take the input data and it will create the output. So just instead of 1 minute, I'm changing the input file. So before going to do any activity, so we need to load the input data into HDFS. I'm loading this sequence input.txt into HDFS. So before going to that, you can see so what is there. So we have only the two fields. One is department ID and what is the department name. So these are the two fields. So this I'm going to pass as a input, and we'll see how the output it will come. The how the sequence in output it will come. You'll see. And the first step, I have loaded the data into HDFS. So then we'll change the. So I have changed the input path and output path, and I'm going to create the sequence file, and I'm passing the data as a two fields. One is the department ID and department ID. So apart from that, I'm going to create the sequence file. So if you want to create the sequence file, just you can pass the whatever the file output format you can change as the sequence file format, file sequence output file format you can give it. So here if you want to read the data as a different file formats, we can do it. And similarly these examples, what we are doing is instead of writing the data as a only text, if you want to write the data as a sequence file format or any other file format like XML, if you want to write, so we can write it. So if you want to do that, we need to customize the output format. So that is for the writing the output to the HDFS. Yeah, now if you see the output, so the data it will come like this sequence, whatever we are passing the sequence. So sequence output file sequence file it will become as a like this. It will be there. So we are not able to read properly. So the data it will be like this. And similarly, if we want to read, so now coming to our discussion, now if I have the we have the sequence file. If I want to read it, so then what we need to do is we need to use the input format. class. So by using this sequence input file format, we can able to read the sequence file whatever we are created. So whatever the sequence file is there, so we can able to read it by passing the sequence file input format. So previous example what we did is from the input text file we have written sequence data. So similarly if you want to write any other formats, so we need to customize the file output format, and we need to internally we need to implement some method like write output something. We have the methods, so we need to customize that, and we can able to, if we want, we can able to convert it as a whatever the file format if we want. So we can output, we can store it as a corresponding output format, we can change it. Okay, coming to the input formats, so we'll see how we can use the sequence file format. So sequence file input format, so simply we can configure in this one, so we can able to read the sequence file. So whatever the output we have created this one, so same file we will use it and we will try to read that one. So similarly already created the sequence reader, so by using this driver class sequence reader driver, so whatever driver we have used writer driver, and now I'm going to use read driver. So one Mapreduce program we can contain multiple reader drivers or multiple mappers and reducer we can contain. So but whatever the driver class we are going to call, so that is the execution flow. It will be depend on the what driver class we are going to use. So I'm going to pass the this so I'm going to pass this file as a input for the sequence reader. So that is we are passing the sequence file as a input, and the reader we are using sequence reader dot jar, and the driver we are using sequence read driver. So this it will be read the sequence file and it will give the output as a text input format. Here we didn't specify the sequence output format, so by default it will take text output format. So whatever the data it is there, it will be write to the HDFS, so it will be write as a text file. So read OP, so same data will have it, but here if you observe it, so by default the input format it will be use the some key as a some offset number it will use, so that's why this one is also coming. So the original data is the department and the department name, but while creating as a thing, so if we want to skip this one, we can skip it. Only printing the value we can print it. So now we are printing key also, so that's why the extra values also coming. So in mapper class, instead of writing the key, if we write only value, we will get the whatever the original data we want. So after reading the sequence file, so whatever the data if we want, so in mapper class we can modify it, but here only we are whatever the data we are coming key value we are just emitting. So instead of that, if you want to modify anything, if you want to convert as a comma separated, so that we can do it in the mapper class. So this sequence format by default we have it as a Mapreduce is providing as input format, so we don't need to customize it. The whatever the file format for reading the sequence files. So by default it will be there. Just we need to driver we need to use either we need to use as a input format class or the output format class. So we can use it the sequence file format we can use it. Okay, this is about the sequence file format. Next we'll move to the another. Okay, now if I want to read Excel file or the XML or JSON, so how we can read it? So these are Mapreduce is not giving the built-in support, or default it is not supporting. So then if it is Mapreduce is not giving the support, so then how we can read it? So we can read it by using the customizing the input format. By using the by customizing the input format, we can able to give the support for the reading the Excel or XML. We can able to read it. So, but if we want to customize something, so we need to extend the input format, and internally we need to implement the record reader. So record reader is responsible for converting input split data as a key value pairs. So converting input split data as a key value pairs. So whatever the key value pairs we have converted, so these it will be used in the Mapreduce program. So if we want to customize anything, we need to first implement the input format. Under the input format, we need to implement the record reader. So record reader will have the different methods. So in that, one main important method is next key value pair. So this method is responsible for converting the input split data as a key value pair. So under this method only, we need to implement the logic how we can read the Excel or the XML. So we need to provide some logic for doing that. So first we'll start with the Excel. So how we can read the Excel file. Now I have the data like this, employee name and salary, I have it. So this data I want to convert as a, this is the Excel format, employee.xls. So this file, if I want to read and if I want to convert as a comma separated value, so how we can read it, we'll see. So if we want to customize the input format, so we need to extend the file input format. Inside that, we need to write our own record reader. So that is the Excel record reader we have written. So what is the inside the Excel record reader? So Excel record reader, we will extend the record reader, and we need to specify the what is the key, data type, and value. We need to specify it. Long, writable, and text is the key value base. Same whatever we are defining in record reader, we will use it in the Mapreduce. So now if I want to customize something like XML, Excel we need to support. So first we need to read the particular file. So for that we need to search for the corresponding API in Java. So if you are implementing Java, so first step is reading or parsing the Excel file. After that, so we need to define so how we can get the single record, how we can get it. So that we need the logic for the reading the and parsing Excel file. After that, the logic for converting the each line as a key value pair, reading each line and convert as key value. So in record reader, we need to take care about these two steps. So reading or parsing Excel file and how we can identify the each line and convert as a key value. So this is the tricky part in the while customizing the any input format like Excel. So each line means so that will get from the we'll have the API in the Java. So what is that API? Nothing but for reading the Excel files, we have the one one interface like one API, Java API that is POI. I will show that. So we are using Excel parser. So inside this parser, we are using the for reading the data. We are using this API Apache POI. Maybe you already, if you worked on the Excel files in Java, maybe you have aware of this one. So this POI we can able to read Excel, Word file and PDF we can able to read. So here what I am doing is I am loading the entire file and inside that I'm going to the particular sheet and I'm iterating the rows. Each row I will iterate and I will get each row. Inside that I'm checking whether the particular data is the kind of the numeric or boolean or the string and I'm getting the each cell. Inside row I will get the shell. So these things what we are doing is so we are appending to the as a lines and different cells we are uh, appending by using the tabs operator we are doing. So now whatever the each record is there, if I have the 10 elements, so these 10 elements I'm separating it by the tabs operator I'm going to do. And each line it will be separated by the /n. So like this we have written the Excel parser for reading the entire the Excel file and reading the rows and this cell. So each cell will have the data will get like whatever we have the this employee name and salary will get the data. So that data we are separating by using the tab and finally the each line each record we are writing as a /n represent the new line. So like this we are writing the data. So once we define how we can read the data, then we can use it in initialize method. So initialize method we'll read the split and we will create the file system and we'll use the parse Excel data. So whatever we have written in the parse Excel, so we will pass the input stream and we will. So this one will have the string entire Excel file we are storing into string. So that we again we are converting as a array of lines by splitting the new line. So we are converting as each line. Now this array will have the each line as a one element it will be there in the this array. So this is fine. So here what we are doing is so we are reading the Excel file and we are converting as a lines. So array of lines we have created. Array of string means each element we have the one record. So that is separated by the tabs operator. And next coming to the key value method. So whatever I have mentioned here, next key value. So this is the method is responsible for converting as a key value. So here what we are doing is just we are checking for the array of that length, and simply key we are giving some position or some like offset value we are inserting as a key, and the value what we are inserting is, so we are iterating it, and for every iteration we'll get the one record, we'll get it. So how we are getting the first line, if we want to get, we can call it as a array index of 0, array index of 1, like that. We can increment the pos well position, and we can get the each iteration will get the one value from the array. So like this. So next key value what it will generate, key it will generate some random some value, position value it will be generated. So we need only the value it contains the data. So whatever the data we have it in Excel, so the data it will be separated by the tab. So this data we will use it in the mapper, Excel mapper we will use it. So Excel mapper, whatever we have defined the key and value, same we will use it. So simply here what we are doing is we are reading the data and we are printing it. So only key only we are doing, value we don't need it. So just whatever the data we have it is value. So we are reading, and while emitting, so just we are emitting only the data. So we don't need the key, just we need the value. So we are emitting this value. Yeah. So once we return the mapper, input format we have defined, record header we have defined, and parser for reading, and mapper we have defined. Next, in coming to the driver, we need to specify the input format. So whatever the customized input format instead of the text input format, so we can pass it as a Excel input format, and this input format will be take care about reading Excel file and converting as a key value, and it will pass to the mapper, it will pass it. So here we don't need reducer. So why means just we are not going to perform any aggregation operations. So just we are reading the data and we are emitting to the, we are writing to the HDFS. So that's why here we don't need the reducer. So here we are using map only job. Yeah, once we did all these things, so we can export it as a jar. So what we did previously, so similar, we can go to the particular path and we can create the jar file. So first we will load that Excel file. We can use same path. So this Excel file we are not able to read properly from the browser. So only text files we can see. Okay, we'll change the input. Similarly, output also we can change. Okay. So now we'll see the output it will come. Yeah, it is executed. We'll see. So if we go to the output, so we can get it like a, so the data it will come. Yeah, I think I'm using old jar file, so that's why it is coming the multiple times. So this is having some issue. So we'll execute with the new file, new jar file. Actually, previously when I'm implementing, so it is coming multiple times. So I fixed that one and I have created new jar file. I'll use that file. Instead of using this jar file, so we can use the newly. Okay. This will give the only the output one time. So previous one is having some issue. So that's why I fixed and I created new jar file. So this jar file it will give the data it is one time only. So while implementing, if I did any small mistakes in next key value, so the output we won't get properly. So we need to implement the properly in next key value. So if we check it the new output, now we can able to get only one time. So whatever the data we have it in Excel, so we'll get the key as a tab separated, we can able to get the data. Similarly, I'm going to pass one more Excel. So for the same Mapreduce program, now I'm going to pass this Excel. So this having the multiple columns and this is related to Naukri data. So what is the experience and what is the name, current designation and experience. So this data, if I pass to the same Mapreduce program, so I will get the output as a each column tab separated, I will get the data. So we'll execute the same file and we'll see how the data it will come. So for that, first we need to load that file into HDFS. So only I'm changing the input and output. Instead of the small file, now I'm giving the some bigger file and output I'm changing. So whatever I'm showing, so if you want to check how many records are there, before going to execute that, we'll see the previous one. So if we go to the using custom input format, here you can able to check how many mapper input records and mapper output records came. You can check it. So previous example only we have 3. So that's why here we can check how many records are we have reading from the Excel and we are writing. Yeah, now we'll execute the same and we'll see how many records are. Here also if you want to see instead of going there, here also it will be display the number of input records and output records. So if we come to Excel, we have the data, I think 81 records. So map output records are 89 and input records are 89. Yeah, I think we are reading, I think this is different Excel, I think 1 minute. The file name may be different. Okay, we'll go to output and we'll see whether the output how it is coming. If you see this, so whatever the data it is there, title name, so this is the each data it is coming as a tab separated, and the data it will come as a each record it will come as a like this. So the data it is coming, it will be tab separated data it will come. So if you go and check the data, so the first data is this one. So this is coming, and the second is coming the value, name and current designation. If we go, this is the name and this is the current designation and this is the experience field. So these are separated by the tab. So like this, we can able to convert. So if you want to convert as a comma separated, or if you want to tab, if you want to space separated, so we can whatever the format if we want to convert, so we can read and we can convert it. So this is how we can convert if we want to convert Excel file, so we can do it. So we need to customize the input format and we need to customize the record reader, and inside the mapper, so whatever the data we need to read, so we can read and we can emit as a key value page, we can emit. So anyone having doubts regarding the reading the Excel file and writing, converting as a comma CSV file, are the tabs separated? Anyone having doubts? Yeah, the question is if you have the, so now we have only the one sheet we are reading it, that is fine. So same data if you had the multiple sheets, so same kind of data we can add it. So we can use only one Mapreduce program and we can able to do it. Instead of that, if you have the difference data and if you want to convert this, we need to execute this separately. We need to pass the this separate Excel file and sheet, and we need to differently we need to execute. So that that will be depend on the same data or the different data. Suppose if another Excel sheet also I have the same data, so then I can use the same MapReduce and I can iterate the sheets also. So that we can do it in the Excel parser, we can do it. So coming to the parser, so here we are reading the, our case we are reading only the first sheet. So here we need to implement the logic to iterating how many sheets are there. So if we have the 5 sheets, we can iterate the same thing and we'll get is a each sheet data also we can append as a slash n. But only if we have the same data, it is in a different sheet. So otherwise, if we don't have, if we have the other kind of data like I have the only two fields, like here I have the suppose employee information. So in that cases, we need to execute the same program, but we need to execute separately. So the whatever the output is, data is different from this sheet and this sheet. So then we need to use the same program, but we need to change the sheet of the particular Excel sheet. We need to change it and we need to execute the program. So that we need to define. So based on the data, if you have the multiple sheet, so that logic we need to the implement. So that will be changed on the data. So based on the input data, we need to customize the parser and we need to customize the record reader. We need to customize it. Okay, coming to the XML, yeah, we need to reading and first we need to read or parse. We need to XML file. From that, we need to identify the each line. We need to identify. So before that, we'll see the some sample XML file. So this is our input data XML. So here I have the each record as a employee. It is in this node, employee node, we have the data. So inside this, we have the name and salary, and name and salary we have like this. So this data, if we want to read it, so how I can convert as a identify the single record means, so this is the my starting key and this is the ending key. So based on this, inside if I get this as a record, so then I can iterate inside it and I can able to parse it. So for this we can use the any XML parser, we can use it and we can able to get the data inside this and data inside this, and we can convert as a comma separated. If you want, we can convert as a comma separated. So for that we need to specify the what is the starting key and ending key, we need to pass it. So while implementing the Excel, we need to pass these two as a inputs. What is the starting and ending key? We need to pass it. So based on this one only, we can able to pass the data. So if we want to implement any kind of, suppose if the data is changed, so data is coming like a different. So we need to change the logic for the entire the mapper inside and record reader. Record reader is same, but the only thing is what is the starting and ending and what is the data we need to read inside, so that we need to change it. So I will show that one. So first we need to define the Excel input format. Inside that we need to use the XML record reader. So for this record reader, what we are defining is start tag key and end key, we need to provide it. So first, whatever data we are showing this, first I will get this part as a each record. I will get this part. So this it will pass it as a value to the Mapreduce. Inside that I will get the name and salary value that I will show in Mapreduce. So first what we will do is, so based on this start and end tag, I can get the data, and this one I will iterate here and I will get the starting tag and ending tag data. I will write to as a value, I will write it. So this buffer we are storing. So this buffer, this value it will having the each record it will be pass. So that logic we have written. So inside that, here we don't need separate class for the parsing. So already we have the XML parser, it is there in Java. So that we can use it, that I will show in the Mappa. So this step record reader, what we are doing is, so this part we are reading the file and based on the start and end tag, we are getting the whatever the data we want, we are getting. And so how we are getting means next key value, we are defining that the start and end tag we are defining, and we are writing as a key value page, we are writing the data. So for getting the reading until match, so we are implemented the logic inside this. So whatever data we want to get, so only this part we are writing the logic in the, here we are writing in the record reader. So once we got the data like this, next we'll pass it to the mapper. So mapper, what we are doing here is we are reading the, here we are using the XML readers. So if we go to here, Java will have the XML readers. So we can use that Java X XML reader, and here we can find the starting and ending events, and we can able to read that. So up to this part is reading the each line and getting the starting element, and we will get the full data of this one employee. So after inside, if I want to get this, I need to use this name tag, and salary. If I want to get, I need to use salary. So that's I have hard coded here the name and salary. So from the current element, employee element, I need to get the name and salary. So that I am adding to the property name and property value. So finally from the mapper, I am emptying the name and value. So this is how, if you want to get the data. So whenever we are doing the XML, so all these things, the whatever we are mentioning, the name, salary, and whatever the starting tag and ending tag, it will be changed based on the files. If you have the nested kind of things, so mapper only we need to iterate through whatever the element we need, and we need to get the particular element. So that logic we need to implement according to our input XML file we need to write it. So XML driver, what we need to configure is, so what is the start tag and what is the end tag. So here the starting tag is employee and an end tag this one. So based on the start tag and end tag only, we are identifying the each record. So here if you observe it, generally if you want to read, generally each line will get as a one record, but our record is, entire record is in multiple lines. So for getting that one, we need to mention. So for fetching the record, we are passing the what is the starting and what is the ending. So from this position to this position, record reader, it will read the as a one line. It will treat as a one line. So that's why we are passing starting and end. So inside this method, so it will iterate and it will up to that starting and ending between that. So it will read the entire data and it will pass to the mapper. Inside mapper, it will fetch the that record. Each iteration it will get one record, and it will convert as a whatever the inside the tags, if we want to get the data, so we can get. So that is the logic. So the logic is same for the whatever the Excel, but the way we are reading and way we are extracting the each record is the different. Excel directly we don't need to pass starting and ending. So Excel itself, it is having the each line as a one record, but here the data we are passing as a text only. But for identifying the record, so we need to specify the, first we need to identify the record. So for that only we need to provide some logic, and we need to pass the starting and ending tag, we need to pass. Yeah, we can create the, after this we can create the jar files, and we'll execute that jar file. Yeah, first we will load that XML file. So this file now I'm going to execute. So I pass this as an input and we are executing. So final output I will get as a what is the name and salary, comma separated data I want it. So I can get it. So this is the sample file. So every time we need to do like this means, so we need to sometimes maybe the starting and ending tags, it will be some complexity is there. We need to define that logic, how we can read it. So based on the input data, we need to change the logic. So but whatever the flow is the same. So we need to define the starting and ending tag. Inside we have the kind of the nested tags. Inside the tags we have the again the inside data, it will be there. So then we need to define the change the logic to how we can get the data. That we need to change it in either Mappa or the recorder we need to change. But the flow is same. Record reader we need to identify the record and we need to pass it to Mappa. So Mapper it will get the whatever the data we want it. So if we go to the so whatever we have it in input, we have the data XML. So this data we can convert as a whatever tab separated or comma separated. So we can able to convert the data. Yeah, anyone having doubts regarding this reading XML file? So coming to the JSON file, so I think previous example we have seen the JSON file. So the JSON file it will be like 1 minute. So this JSON file we have seen while we are doing the Flume also we have seen. So similarly, I have similarly we have the key value page. So if we want to read it, so we can get the each line and we can able to read the by using JSON parser. So we can able to read the key value page. So whatever the data we want, so we can able to read and we can convert as a CSV format or tab separated format. So whatever the data format if we want, so we can change it. So same thing, we need to provide JSON input and the record reader we need to. So next value, key value we need to implement. So how we can each line to JSON, how we need to convert. So we'll have the JSON object and we have API for the supporting JSON format. So this is the package we need to import arc.json.simple. So this it will give the support for reading the JSON record and if you want to convert it, so we can convert it. So here they are converting as a map key and map value and same they are using as a map writable. So this map writable it will contain the key and value. So here they are passing the key and value. Same they will use the JSON mapper. They will read this one and they are getting the key and value. So whatever we have the JSON key value, so same thing we are converting as a key and value. So we are emptying through mapper, we are emptying. We will load this JSON file into HDFS. If you want, we can see this it in. So here the whatever JSON we are providing as a single line, so we'll read each line and we'll pass it as a key value pie. We can do it. Yeah, we will execute this one. Okay, here the one more tricky part is, so instead of the single line, if we have the JSON we are passing as a multi-line, so then we need to define again the logic how we can get. So we need to specify some delimiter for the each line, the input JSON we need to provide it, and we are able to identify the each record like XML file, and we need to fetch the each record and we need to convert as a key value. But here whatever we are doing is, so each line it will be as a single line. So this will we can treat easily treat as a one JSON record and will pass to as a key. So recorded it will treat as a one record and it will convert as a, so whatever the data we want it, so we can easily convert. But if we have the multiple lines, so then we need to again customize something in record reader and we need to read that JSON data. Here if you check it, so this is the key value page for the first record and this is the key value page for the second record. So if you see text, what is the text and what is the from user and created. So this is the one record and this is the another record. So whatever we have as a input, so these two records it is convert as a, so when it is created, so who send from user and text, so that we have convert as a this one. So similarly, if you want to only instead of keys, if you want to read the only data, we can read it, and if you want to form it as a comma separator, so we can do it. That. So that we need to change it in the Mapreduce. This is how we can read the different files. So sequence file and the XML and the Excel file and the JSON file. So like this, we can, if you want to customize something in the Mapreduce, we can do it. Otherwise, if we want to directly JSON or XML files, we can able to read it in directly in Hive. If we want, we can read it. So that I think we have seen in the previous sessions. I've explained the how we can read. So Hive we can read by using the setd. But in Mapreduce, if we want to customize something, we need to write the Mapreduce code and we need to customize the input format and the record reader. So we need to implement the logic for the parsing the file and identifying the how we can fetch the record. We need to implement the logic and we need to convert as a key value pair. So this is all about the input for custom input formats in the Mapreduce. So similarly, if you got new files, so first we need to understand how we can read that from the Java or whatever language you are using, Python or Java. So first we need to understand how we can read the data from the particular file. From that, we need to write the logic for the identifying the record and we need to convert. So the data how we need to need. So like a CSV if you need, we can convert as a CSV format. If you want tab separated TSV, so we can convert as a TSV. So this is all about the file formats in the Mapreduce. Apart from that, we can same logic we can implement for the other file formats if we want to implement for the other file formats. Thank you.